heading for a weekend that might be full of a lot of things. I was talking to a friend just now and just realizing that our lives are our lives, and there's a lot of ifs in them. If we can, if if is such a word that just gives us an opportunity to think that we need to do something or that we do not need to do something. And so it's one of those things that just really gives us pause. And so even in my write up this morning, one of the things I said is that I remember in talking to my mother and my grandmother, they always used to say that if was questionable because it had it was a straight letter, which is the I. That's you. You may be straight, but in terms of how you take your straightness forward, there may be trouble because the F has a curl in it, or it's crooked, you know, and anything that crooked has gives us a reason to make a decision. Should we do it or should we not do it? That's if. So this morning I found this thing called the if factor. In fact, I have an if factor, and then I have some other things because it talks about the origin of sometimes where we get words. It says there are four conditional clauses in this kione Greek word for if, and it talks about it being. It says, and this is Christian based. This particular section, and it was put out there by C.S. Craig in 2016, The Tree of Knowledge. And it says, once a person has received Christ as their personal savior, they may go through this period of if. It says, therefore, it says, if they have accepted who Christ is, then they will end up being a child of God. And it says, this pastor teacher, which was John 8:30 to 32 and Acts 20 to 28, it says, therefore, violation becomes the key issue in the believer's life of if we are to be victorious Christians glorifying Christ. So our study will be that of the if factor. Now, I don't stay on Christianity, I really don't, but it just seemingly was just poignant to me that I was able to, in looking for the poem I'm going to read. It also talks about if gives us four possibilities, and it's almost if you were a researcher, of which I probably consider myself to be, that at some point you may go through if I do this, this will occur. But it gives you four possibilities. It says first class condition of if would be, is it true? That's if everything is all right. Second class of condition would be if it's not true. The third condition, it says maybe yes and maybe no. Another if. And finally, the fourth classification or fourth class condition says if I wish it were true, but it is not true. We don't even think about if. It's a conjunction, and certainly small, and it's in fact there's only two letters, but the letters are poignant, and the collective togethering of those two letters really gives us an ideas to think about. So in this poem I found and I've read it before, by Rudyard Kipling, in Brother Square Toes, it says rewards and fairies. That's like fairy tales. That's what it means. It says, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give away to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twist by knives by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. If is very powerful, even though it's only 2 letters. If. What do we do with our ifs? Do we make a decision that it's true and we believe it? Do we make a decision based on it not being true? Do we make a decision because maybe it's true and maybe it's not true? Or do we make a decision that we don't even know how to make the decision? That's also if. It's iffy to us. It's iffy. So, this morning I wanted to make this one a short one because I have some other things that I have to get done this morning, but I wanted to make sure that I still keep my regular schedule of going live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and today is the day. So if it says it's introducing a conditional clause. So if is a conditional clause, meaning something else may happen, did happen, could possibly happen. And that's how we come up with it. Good morning, Debbie. How are you doing, my sweet friend? Good to see you in the space, see your name and know how sweet you are. Thank you so much for coming. But we're talking about if, and, we all have to go through our ifs. It may be if we're going to have, steak or chicken tonight for dinner. If we're going to go fill up our gas tank or leave it at half the tank. There's always ifs throughout our days. So it says if is one of those conditions or suppositions that in the event of something happening, we can go forward, or we maybe need to hold back. It says if is providing a condition that may or may not occur, provided that something is presuming to occur. It's a presumption. It's an assuming action. It says it's something that could be allowed or may not be allowed, as long as, that's another way of saying, as long as this happens, we can do this. It says, given that with, or this is my understanding, if, okay, if only that, if only this, all of these are contingent in the event that something else will occur. We don't even think of ourselves like that. Most of the time we think of, we don't break it down that far. Let me put it that way. Even though we're dealing with if all day long. We deal with it all day long. So I say my I, when I move on, and first let me ask you, are you stuck occasionally on your ifs? I am. I get stuck. And so my I for my first letter of if talks about the instance that if comes to me or comes at me. It says in its example or its single occurrence of something that just happens to me. It says it's a stay or a step or within a process, meaning I'm going to step forward or I'm going to sit back, stand back. But it's a process that must be dealt with. It says it could be a small piece of an amount of something to occur, typically used for testing or analysis. And the analysis could be as simple as what I'm going to do next. I have to analyze it. Does it fit right with me? Is it too costly? Is it requiring too much of my time? Is Is it worth it? We ask ourselves a question. Those are really if questions. Those are if. And those are the instances that if comes to us. It says it's an individual fact or item. It may be a go around, meaning it must be done before I can even get around this. I can't go, I can't continue to drive my car unless I decide when I'm going to put gas in it. I can't say dinner is done unless I know what I'm going to cook for dinner. I can't go to the, nail salon and get my nails done unless I've set up the appointment or they're able to take me in. So there's some circumstance. They're able to take me in when I get there as a walk-in. So there's if. We don't even realize it. So if is like one of those things that we walk through them all day long and we don't realize their importance, their significance. So if says, it talks about it being a cause, a sample, an example, an illustration. Debbie, you got a word? I know you do. It could be an illustration of us, an occurrence, an occasion. It says it's an exemplar of an instance that occurs. It's a prototype. Sometimes we have to get a prototype before we can actually get to the point where we're ready to launch the bigger thing or the more stable or the more reasonably priced or more acceptable item that we're trying to put out there in the ways. It also talks of being something that is representative. In an instance, it was represented to us and we have to act on it. That would be the if that we have to cross over. It says it's something that sets precedence. Sometimes we can't move because we haven't dealt with the instance that brought us the if. We can't move. We don't know how to deal with it. It talks about it also being the details. Sometimes the devil, as they always say, it's not my saying, is in the details. And as long as you stay on top, you don't know all that's being required of you. But then somebody says, well, no, this you have to do this and this and this. Well, then all of a sudden, what you might have originally thought you were going to do becomes an iffy decision. Well, I don't know. The time's not going to work for me. There's no pay or there's just volunteer. Sometimes we have to understand why it is that we make decisions that aren't always good because the if was necessary. The if gave us pause. It gives us pause. I already mentioned this once, but I'm mentioning it again. The I of if is straight. It's vertical. It's straight up. The I, like you're standing up. The F has a curl in it, or my mother used to call it a crooked letter. So the crooked letter means that you must give yourself time to make a decision of what the if is all about. The if factor. Is it right for me? Is it necessary? Will it work? Those are all ifs. What do I have to do to get that where it will do all the things I expect of it? And sometimes we don't do that. Indecision. Oh, that's good. That's good, Debbie, because we are indecisive when we're dealing with if. And some people can never make it. They will tell you in a minute that I can't make a decision on that yet. I have to see what else is going to happen or what else I have to do. The instance also talks about it being that you're proofing what's going on. You're in the instance of, well, I don't know. I have to first find out all the details. What is really involved in this? And what does it represent? Is it representing me or is it representing something else that's beyond me? Does it require that other people are involved in it? If it's a project for 5 and you only have 2 people, that means it sounds like it may be too much work for us to do. Just talking yourself through your ifs, it helps you make decisions that make sense. That makes sense. However, many of us, me included, have thought I had all of the answers or all of the things that applied until I got further into it and said, no, it puts me back. I'm really still at if. I'm still at my if because now I see that this isn't there and that isn't there, and I'm not. I made a poor decision, or I made a probably a, a pre-acknowledged decision, pre my real knowing decision. It's like, wait a minute, I shouldn't have done that because I didn't have all the information. Then it talks about, does it really fit our paradigm? If gives us the pause to say, does this fit us? Is this worth it? Do we need to do this? And then it talks about, what pattern is it setting? Has it set us up to be a failure later on? I don't know. Oh, feelings, that would be feasibility. Mine is feasibility when I move on. But the last one, it says, the instance puts us in the embodiment of what we need to say versus sometimes what we say. What we need to do versus what we commit to doing. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. But when I move on, because Debbie's helping me moving on, and she wrote feelings. For my F, I have, what is the feasibility of it? What makes it more positive to work than not work? For me, in every aspect. Sometimes we chop off part of what makes sense. We just do. And then once we go back through it, we realize that we either missed a step or we overstepped. We overstepped where we need to go, or we missed a step that is vital. It's vital. Fitting. Oh, that's good too. Is it fitting? I put feasibility. And the reason I put feasibility is because when something is feasible, it says it's the state of degree of being easily or conveniently done. A lot of times people ask us to commit to some hard stuff, and we do. And then later on, the flow doesn't go with what we've committed to, because it's requiring us to go faster with less people, less money, less, resources. So sometimes the flow doesn't fit us well, and it helps us get badly in our feelings. There you go. I tied them all together, Debbie. But anyway, when it talks about the feasibility of something, it says it's talking about the culpability of it, the practicality of it. It talks about the workability, the viability, the achievability, the attainability, the reasonability, and the usefulness. I don't know how I got all those abilities, then all of a sudden it got down to usefulness. But it talks about, it's a chance that we take when we deal with F. If is it, the F of if really talks about it being something that we need to stop at long enough to make the right decisions. Flush is really good, because sometimes we do have to flush through things to make it worth. Forethought. Ooh, that's probably the best one yet. What forethought did we give something before we committed to something? Oh, Debbie, that's really good. I also have suitability and constructability. So I have all of those words that really talk for me about the fact that in an instance, I may make a decision, but I have to pause enough to realize the feasibility of my commitment. That's my if. And sometimes I don't do it. Sometimes people can call me up. In fact, right now I'm getting ready to give away some tickets to the All Services Ball here tonight, only because I'm kind of drained. It's been a very, very busy last 2 weeks, and I'm going to gift them to someone. And I'm going to find out who wants to do that as soon as I finish today's session. But the feasibility of that became difficult. But I didn't measure it when I originally purchased the tickets. I didn't realize all the other things that were already on this week's schedule. Next week is busy too. In fact, once the holidays come, it is absolutely, commitment after commitment after commitment. And we have to ask ourselves, are we committed out of, love and respect for others? but we also have to give ourselves a little love and respect in the process of, I can't come to everything. I can't do everything, even though I've been invited to a lot of things. We sometimes just have to draw back and say, I can't do everything. I can't do all things. What's our foundation? Yes, that's really good. What do we stand on? What do we stand for? And what pushes us over when we keep committing to stuff and we never stop long enough to deal with the individualness of us and whether or not it's feasible. The instant it comes in, individualizing it, making it that I and F connection should be that once we make a decision, it's based on the fact that, one, as the individual, we're tied into it, but two, we're tied right. That it is feasible. It is something that we can do. It fits us. It flows through us and we can get it done. But a lot of us will end up, after we've been given, things to do or requests have been made of us, and we never consider all that is involved. And sometimes the devil that's in the details doesn't show up right away. It doesn't show up until maybe, a week or two or a month or 2 months. You say, wait a minute now. I thought we were going to have this and this and this. Well, those things aren't there, but here's what else is there. We have to be respectful of our own time, our own commitments, and understanding and helping other people understand who we are by how we deal with our ifs. We need to put the if out there for them too, not just that they not give us all the information of what is required of us, but that we do it in such a way that it's reciprocal, that they tell you all that's needed and you can tell them if you fit into that, as Debbie said, or you don't, but you have to keep your foundation under you. Thank you, Debbie. And you have to look after your future. That's why I said, I woke up this morning, I said, you know what? I'm going to donate those tickets because I'm just tired. I don't want to get dressed up and, after 5 wear and do all of that. I don't want to do that. And actually it's formal. So, you got to be really dressed up. I don't do that tonight. So I need to rest a little bit and I'm going to do that. And I feel fortunate, to take that on. I feel very, very fortunate. And this is one of those days that I know a lot is going on. It is Veterans Day. For those who are veterans, happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for serving. I was a veteran's wife and worked having worked for the government for 32 years, initially starting out part-time and then working full-time for all the remainder of those years, and as an educator and a counselor for the federal government. So I put in my time and I loved what I did. I appreciated the military and really feel that, sometimes you're not thanked enough. I thank you. I appreciate you. You've served my family well, even going forward as a veteran's wife. I'm still, able to do things that benefit myself and how I'm taken care of. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, I'm done with talking about my ifs for now, but I want you to consider your ifs for the weekend. If it's not right for you, don't do it. Ask questions, run it down, find out how much of a commitment is it on you physically, emotionally, financially, all of that. If it works for you, work it. If it doesn't, don't do it. Don't do it at all. I love you guys. I appreciate you. You don't have to send stars. If you want to, you could, but you don't really have to. I think I dismantled it. But if you don't do anything else, hit share and let the world know that I'd make every attempt every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time to do my and explaining words and making it worth your time as well. I appreciate you. Love you guys. Be safe out there. Debbie, have a great weekend. I know there's some other people that were watching, but have a great weekend, dear. Love you, love you, love you. Okay? Bye-bye. Brig Mo. Washington Usher, good morning. Good morning. Sorry you came late, but you can watch it again. All right. Have a great day. You as well. Thanks, babe. Bye-bye.